Hello students, let me show you what the next level planning in chess look like to boost your opening and middle game play. Take a look at the position in front of you and ask yourself, what would I play here if I had the white pieces? Most players in this position would realize white has some kind of an advantage because the black's king lost the right to castle. However, they hope that frivolous development for white will somehow be enough to sustain our advantage. A typical scenario would look like this. Let's develop a piece, and black makes a prophylactic move to move the king to c7. White continues developing the pieces, black plays king to c7, white continues developing pieces, say black goes knight to h6 with the idea of going knight to g4. Alright, white says, let's make a prophylactic move f3, black will play something like f6, we continue developing the pieces with knight g2, knight f7, white realizes that we control the file, let's double up the rooks, black will also develop a piece, rook hd1, knight to d7, and once the developing moves are over with white, we start wondering, so where is our advantage? We had one, but why? I don't see anything good here for white that will make us be better. So now let's go back. So that this wouldn't happen in our games, let me show you an amazing plan that was created by Boris Gulko, a very famous chess player with the white pieces, who played against young Rajabov, another grandmaster. Instead of developing anyhow or randomly, we need to find an object of an attack so that we would be able to coordinate our army to fight against it. What's possible in this position is to select e5 as a target and then develop the pieces so that we would apply maximum pressure against this pawn. Now, once I tell you that your plan is to attack e5, if I ask you where would you place your bishop, the answer is clear immediately. I want either to place the bishop on d2 and c3 or play b3 and play the bishop to b2 in order to attack this pawn. Now, if you know that, once again, e5 is your target and ask you where should the knight go to in the middle game, by pausing the video and finding it yourself, yes, you're absolutely right. The knight shouldn't go to c3 then, but go to d2 and c4 to apply even more pressure. After we're going to have a pin, it's even possible to apply pressure on e5 pawn with f4, and perhaps our knight could go to f3. So now, instead of developing randomly and thinking where would each individual piece be best placed, you're trying to put maximum pressure, coordinate all of your army to attack e5 and see what follows. White plays b3, black plays bishop to e6, and now white played bishop to b2. Instead of black developing however he wants, he has to think, how am I going to defend this 4 times? Because white can attack this many times. So there is initiative that white is developing, and it forces black to think twice and come up with a very universal setup that would defend e5 enough times. Black played knight to d7 for this reason, so that one knight could defend e5 pawn from d7, and the other knight could go to c6 to defend it the second time with the knight. White played knight to d2, black played knight to e7. Now, white realizes a couple of things over here. First of all, we cannot go knight to c4 because obviously we're going to be taken. That's black's good bishop because the e5 pawn is on the opposite color than the bishop itself. For white, however, the bad bishop would be considered the bishop on g2 because we have our own pawn stuck on the light square in the middle. So exchanging such bishop would not only exchange our bad bishop as white for opponent's good bishop, but also it would allow our knight to go to c4 square. And here we have a move that breaks the principle. We do move the same piece twice, but we do it for a very good reason. So here, if black doesn't do anything, of course, we would like to take and even double their pawns. So black took on h3, white took back on h3, and because white's knight was threatening to go to g5, black played the move f6. Not only from here the pawn guards the g5 square, but they have additional support for the pawn on e5. White castles. This also involves the rook into the game immediately. Black played king to e8 to step out of the fire by the rook. And white continues applying pressure on e5 with the move f4. Knight c4 is coming at any moment. Black played knight to c6 to give it another protector, and we played knight to c3, or rather, Boris Gulko did play knight to c4. So amazing pressure on e5. At any moment, we could change the structure into this, and our knight could also from h3 hop to g5 and then go to e6. So this would be kind of an exception where knight is actually not that bad placed on h3. Of course, if the knight was on f3, it would also be a good piece, but since usually the knights on the rim are dim, I have to make a comment that it's not an awful piece over there because we have potential to maneuver it to a better square. Black plays knight to b6. One of the ways we defend initiative in chess is by exchanging opponents' active pieces. White, of course, doesn't want to do that because by taking, we would allow them to open up the rook. So we play knight to e3 and look at another square on d5. Black played rook to d8. We finally can hop to d5. Capture. The pressure on c7 was hard to deal with. Black played knight to e7, and boom, we have the move to c4. So now white has very strong majority on the queen side. We can create a pass pawn in any endgame very, very soon. But first of all, we still would like to involve this knight into the game by perhaps taking and playing moves like knight to g5, and if possible, knight to e6. Our knight becomes simply a Superman. Black in this position started bombarding d5 with the pawn break c6. There's a lot of pressure over here right now. 3 pieces attack it. White plays f takes e5, f takes e5. Another wonderful move to continue the initiative over the white pieces, knight to f4. So if they allow us, we're just gonna jump to e6. It's absolutely amazing outpost. So black kind of have to take, I guess, and then we're gonna take the bishop on g7. So there is an exchange of our knight for the opponent's bishop, but white continues the initiative. The rook is hanging, and at any moment, we're still threatening to win the pawn on f4. So what happened in the game was rook to g8, bishop f6, and it's a common occurrence that at some point, we have such a big strategic advantage. I can show you a couple more moves that we're ending up having a static advantage already, which is long term. And I'm talking about being a pawn up in the endgame. And later, Boris Gulko managed to convert this endgame into a full point. As you can see, white is currently a pawn up, and we have a very active rook, and white want to win the game later on. You could use these strategies in almost every game you play. I hope to make more videos on planning in chess to boost your opening and middle game and even endgame play. If you enjoyed the class, consider hiring me as your personal online chess coach. My contacts are on the right. Subscribe to my chess channel to never miss a video. It's absolutely free, and I will see you in the next class. Thank you.